Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Tuesday, July 28th, 2020, 9:30 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. It's typically a cartography and world building day, and we're going to shoehorn into world building some discussion about the game I ran yesterday for Gary Gygax Day. We had some fun. Lexfire 22 was there. Who's here in the chat? Anybody here yet? Let's see. Okay. Just some lurkaroos. We'll see if they materialize. Anyway, it was a pretty good crowd. Just 4 players, which is, I think, fairly ideal, to be honest. For an online game, it's enough that you get what I like to refer to as the 4 basic food groups, main character classes. It was all human, 5th level, pre-gens. It was 5th edition. Here, let's switch over. 5th edition, pre-gen characters, all human, cleric, fighter, magic user, thief. Super simple. They were not optimized. 1st edition characters, they were randomly created. So they had that element of danger was there as far as the characters being tough to count on, as a count on surviving. George, Luxfire 22. Hey, Red Barn Games, how you doing? Luxfire 22 played the cleric. Our old buddy Seth Warfield, Gary Con attendee extraordinaire, was there playing the thief. Sarah, who is Artanis here in the Twitchers, in the Twitcherverse. Artanis 8242, is that it? She took on the role of the fighter, and the magic user was picked up by old school gamer Dave Stevens, and I'll let them do some customization, pick up some mundane items right out of the gate, look over your characters, decide if everything you want is on there, start talking amongst yourselves, who's got what, who's got this, who's got that, who's got rope, who's got spikes, who has the oil. Is there anything that's missing from your own sheet or from the group in general that you think ought to be picked up? Mundane stuff, just write it down. I don't like the idea of a group, even in a one-shot, being able to look on their backpacks as a collective general store where everything they could ever think of is in there. But I give a little bit of time. Some people spend an hour or more at the beginning of a game session doing character customization. You want to give up this stat to get more of that stat. Did you no, see, I don't, it's too much time. Takes up too much time. Take the pre-gens, play the role you've chosen out of the ones that were available to the best of your ability. Let's get some extra mundane items that you might invariably, you're at some con game and somebody wants a bag of marbles, a sack of flour, and a live chicken. Okay, yeah, we've all seen those first edition convention tricks before. All right, you can have those things. Now we have to start thinking of ways to make that sort of thing backfire a little bit. A chicken's going to be making noise the whole friggin' time. You want a live chicken? You want to walk around in a dangerous environment where you really don't want things to know you're there? I mean, sure, you're marching around. Sometimes you're wearing armor. It's hard to be stealthy, but you could stand still if something's going past on a crossing hallway down the ways. You could stand still and douse light sources and do that sort of thing, and maybe something will just walk right by. But if you're standing there with a live chicken, two things. Chickens make a lot of noise. They also smell like chickens. It's, you're walking around, you're a buffet. This is not good. Anyway, not a huge fan, can you tell, of the convention player that will always ask if they can have a live chicken. And yeah, you can. Sure. Absolutely. Anyway, people are, nobody took a live chicken last night, and they took a bunch of, typical stuff, flask of oil, spikes, extra rope, whatever. At 5th level, of course, and this is, I love when players do this sort of thing. They said, we can have a couple of ways of casting continual light. Up to this point, can we have made an item for each person that has continuous? I said, sure, you got 4 gold pieces. Each one has a continual light spell previously cast upon it. Is that enough? Is 4 of them enough? Yeah, and they're fine with that. And that's great. That's exactly what you want, that sort of forethought going into. It make much difference in the adventure as it played out, but it shows a willingness to think ahead. That's good, because it's not just suggested by one. Everybody was on board with it right out. It's just one person happened to say it first, right? So that worked out. And we don't do a spell book, but I let Magic User has, spells they picked for the day on a list as if they could just jump right in and play. But if they want to beef up a spell book for other things that they like to cast, that's fine, Let's do that. Pick a spell and roll, and if you know it, and write it down, and it's in your spell book too. And if you get 1, 2, 3 of those, and suddenly we're getting into a time element again, and I don't like that. So as soon as it seems like it's bogging down, I will just pick 5. Pick 5 more spells, any spells you want from those 3 levels. Don't forget, read magic and detect magic are automatically in the book. That's one of my house rules for Magic User spellbooks. I also have a house rule for spells that you can take 10 minutes per spell level and trade out spells that you know. So you can convert any first level cleric spell into a Cure Light Wounds, for instance, by just taking 10 minutes and rememorizing, repraying, whatever you want to call it. Same true for magic users, druids, illusionists also. Even if you were to have like a high-level paladin or ranger that was able to cast spells, that would work just fine too. You can convert higher-level spells into lower-level spells that way too, but just still a one-for-one basis. The time it takes is for the one you're getting, not the one you're losing. So if you get rid of a knock spell to get a sleep spell, 10 minutes, rememorize, no more knock spell, now you have a sleep spell, provided both were in your book. And that seems to work pretty well. It makes things a little more flexible. You also have a lot fewer situations in one-shots, I find, where people get stymied because there's some magical options on the table, where brute force just won't do. You come up against a magically locked door or a heavily barred serious gate or door, and knock spell might be your only way through, and you don't want everything to end for the game right there. So I like to do that. So these are world building tips, right? These house rules are world building suggestions, things that are good for my world anyway. So that's a reason why there are mechanics that are included in my world building world setting. That's the thing. What else did we get into right out of the gate? So all of that, what I like to call the paperwork being done, it was time to make their move on the Tower of Lost Nomads, which was named after a semi-regular in the old chat stream here, because they were here on a Friday when I was setting this up back before Con of Champions, which I originally put this together for. That, of course, is a Dyson Logos map. You can see his DL19 in the used under Creative Commons, of course. We'll make sure his link to his website and his Patreon is in the show notes, in case anybody wants to check out his stuff and maybe even support him. I think I'm going up on 5 years as a Patreon supporter of Dyson Logos, and it has never been something I regretted, because there is a ton of material there, and it just keeps growing. It's fantastic. The tower here includes this side view map as well as level maps for first, second, third, and the roof. So you've got 4 top-down maps as well. The group last night was heading this way because we've got to cross the river going south of the town they're in into the wilderness on the far side of the river, where only brave hunters and woodsmen, tree fellers go. Tree fellers because that's an industry supported in the town that makes the town good money, so they don't clear cut anything, but they go out and find a suitable stand of trees whence they can get good lumber, and they mark them, send out a crew, set up a camp, spend a few months or a season. Usually they find an area where they can get a whole season out of it, because if they're going to go to the trouble of coming across and setting up a camp, they want to know that it's worth their while. You don't want to have to move every couple of days just because there's 3 trees here and 3 trees there. You find a good stand of trees with plenty that are old growth that are worth cutting, and you set up that camp. And that's how this town makes the big bucks. So they do indeed know of this abandoned tower that they had discovered while scouting out the next stand of trees for the next season. And they inform the town, and word gets around that they're looking for a group, some folks to investigate it, because they need to know. They know it's an ancient tower. The people, the scouts for the next lumber camp, got a decent look at it from a distance. They're not heroes, and they see something like that. They take a good gander, but then they get the hell out of there because they're not there to fight things. They're not there to investigate or look for treasure. As delightful as pocketing a bunch of gems sounds, it usually comes at a pretty steep price. Fighting something that's guarding it, or coming across some sort of well-laid trap that's still there. If the treasure's still there, there's either something guarding it or there's some sort of trap that hasn't been sprung, because there'd probably be bodies piled up there, right? Anywho, you've got that whole... There's a tower over this way, and we don't want to set up any camps in that direction until after we know what's what with that. Well, of course, there are giant types. This is first edition, so we're talking goblins, orcs, hobgoblins that are known to be out in the wilderness in small bands. They don't come too close to civilization, but further beyond are the hills and then the mountains, and there are whole tribes of these various monsters that fight amongst themselves often, but wander down from time to time in bands, hunting and marauding. So if there's a structure, fortification there, you got to worry that some of them are going to come down and occupy that, and that's less than a day's march from town, or maybe just over a day's march from town, actually. And you've got to worry that that needs to be dealt with, and the sooner the better, in advance if possible. If it's already occupied, be a good thing to clear that out. So they take up the cause, and the four adventurers head out into the wilderness. On their way there, late in an afternoon, mid-late afternoon, undulating sort of landscape, badlands sort of, a lot of brush, stands of trees. Obviously, this is what the tree fellers would be cutting in a particularly dense area. Off in the distance, they see several ogres swinging large clubs, obviously beating the brush, probably for game. And the four adventurers realize they have not been spotted, so they hunker down and they make a little plan. The thief squirrels off to the side. The cleric and the fighter get ready to set up a truncated small defense wall, whatever. Two of them side by side. But when they're close enough, the magic user lets loose with a fireball, and severely scorches at least two of them, just two of them. The third, attracted by that, still unaware of exactly where the adventurers are. The cleric and the fighter move up, set up a line, a spear is thrown, and goes wide. They set their shields and get ready for what comes next. Well, the two that had been burnt missed their saves, full damage. They run up to engage the fighter and the cleric, the two armored individuals, standing tall. Thief staying hunkered down. The third has a longer way to travel to get there, but is moving in that direction of the fighter and the cleric. They quickly dispatch the first of the two that were singed severely, and by the time the third is engaged, they're just finishing off the second. The third one then is treated not only to a frontal assault, but the thief sneaking up and giving it his best. Some magic missiles are popped off to help. In fact, Dave Stevens was playing the magic user, was probably the most potent of the group in this particular fight. And those 5th level magic users and magic missile after a fireball, you could do some damage. I mean, the average 4+1 hit die, right, is 19, right? 4 and 5 and 4 and 5 and 1. 19 hit points on average. These were a little tougher than that, but they were still taken out fairly quickly. 15 points from the fireball started it off and made them all susceptible to a quick round of magic missiles. Made those first two. The third one, a little tougher, but they took him out too. And then they were on the way to the tower the next day, after an extra long rest, because the cleric got clobbered twice. Big clubs. This was they were not 1d10 swinging with their mitts. They were using big clubs for 2 to 16. So these things were averaging 9+ points of damage. And I think I was rolling particularly well, not just with the damage, but also with the hits. So they were seriously, seriously hurt. Fighting their way into the tower was difficult. They lost the fighter in the process. I won't talk much about what's there. I don't want to do a spoiler thing. So let's leave it at that. Hard fought. Pretty good tactics. But bad luck, and the rolls were just against him, and the fighter went down from a series of hits that took her character to 11 under in a single round. So no chance of a quick heal and a back on your feet and you can walk back to town. Well, they finished off what they were dealing with in the immediate. Grabbed the body of the fighter. Hey, Ink Dweller, how's it going? And they hustled off back to town where they could take what little treasure, which was not insignificant, and get a boon, get a favor, get a we're helping you, you help us resurrection for the fighter. Made the res roll, made the system shock roll, and back around. Hey, Alexfire. Oh, ho, ho. Spoiler alert. I guess I hadn't mentioned that, and I didn't mention anything else that was at the tower. Just in case anybody else plays in it, I want to be careful not to. But yeah, you're right. Out in the forest, you got to watch out for those owls because they will. They know what's what and who's who. Huh? Huh? But I do want to say to Paul, to Dave, to Seth, and to Sarah, thank you very much. It was a fun Gary Gygax Day adventure. I'm sorry, Ink Dweller, it didn't work out, and you didn't get to join us too. We will do this again. You know, a few years back, I made the suggestion, and then just started doing it, because that's how I am, right? That there be an Ernie Gygax Day. Because, I mean, what the hell? You get a day named after you, and you're not alive to enjoy it? That doesn't seem fair. Why wait? Ernie's birthday is the 2nd of September. And I think the 2nd of September falls on a Wednesday this year. Let's have a quick look. Yep. So, my suggested Ink Dweller 8 will be that we have an Ernie Gygax Day adventure on that Wednesday. I mean, there's every possibility we'll have something between now and then. But at the very least, why don't I pencil you in for being in a Ernie Gygax Day adventure? And that way, we can make up a little bit for missing out on this one, huh? Does that seem like a plan? Are you down? Are you down with the idea of playing on September? Now it's a Wednesday. It's going to be a Wednesday evening, probably. It could be a day, though. It could be a Wednesday day. There's no reason we can't play during the day if that's fits your schedule more. So you tell me, Ed. Let's since we didn't get to do it this time, let's build this around you. What's the dealio? Will you be available on a Wednesday to play a game on an Ernie Gygax Day on the 2nd of September? You're not chiming in. Did my mic go off? No, my mic's still on. I can see. All right. Well, I'll tell you. While we wait for you to answer, I'm going to say, I'm going to wind her down because we are now there. I want to thank everybody who's following the channel. If you're here and you're following the channel, you should definitely chime in on the stream chat. The schedule: tomorrow, campaign discussion. Thursday, game running tips. Friday, building adventures. DM reviews on Saturday and rules retrospective on Sunday. The weekly news and announcement comes every Monday and Tuesday. Cartography and world building. I think we had some good world building advice in there, including some house rules stuff for first edition. He may be AFK. Good point. Ink Dweller, did you miss all that? I was asking if you're available on September 2nd. It's a Wednesday. It's going to be Ernie Gygax Day. We'll run an adventure for Ernie Gygax Day. But I need to know if you're ready to play. Don't forget to, if you're on YouTube following this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up on the video if you're digging what I'm putting down. I did miss it. Sounds great. September 2nd, says Ink Dweller. Good. All right, Ed. You let me know sometime in the not too distant future whether evening and what time or daytime, whatever suits your schedule better, and we'll build it around that. Of course, anybody else who wants to join in, Lex Fire, I'm looking at you. Red Barn Games, you're here, so I'm looking at you too. And we will figure out the time based on what Ink Dweller can do. Red Barn Games, I got you into the thing. Lexfire 22 and Ink Dweller, I got you in too on the thing. So you're all set. I'm all set. We're all set. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day, and we will catch you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.